Story 1. When I was in high school in the 10th grade, a girl I knew decently well asked me for my iPod Touch. She had one of our friends give it back to me 10 minutes later with a note about how she had a dream about having a future with me. A bunch of kids, a house, and puppies. Oddly enough, I wasn't weirded out. It was kind of sweet, and she was pretty cute, but I was mildly slow at that time and had no idea how to handle it, with no real interest in dating. I think I thanked her, gave her a hug, and subsequently forgot about it. If that were me, that probably would have crushed me. We still interacted afterward, sort of like it didn't happen. I never brought it up, and she never did either. I only remembered this happened a few years ago, and I can't believe I was so stupid about it. Looking back now, I totally should have dated her. I'd love some puppies right now. Story 2. When I was a junior, I was asked out by a special needs girl. She said something along the lines of, "Can we go out sometime?" I figured she meant hang out after school sometime, so I said, "Yeah, for sure." I was dumb at that age and didn't realize what she asked. I realized like an hour later in school and had to reverse my answer. I've never felt like such a piece of trash after doing that. She was the only girl to ever ask me out, though. Story 3. My friend and I had an anti-Valentine's Day and went out together to a comedy show. We had a great night like we always did. As we said our goodbyes, she leaned in to kiss me. I didn't see it coming and had no idea anything like that had crossed her mind. I kind of stuttered and asked, "What?" And she said, "Sorry, I thought it would be nice to kiss you." I said, "Oh no, it isn't." She looked so deflated. I felt awful and still do. I hadn't had time or any warning to come up with a nice way to handle it, so my awkwardness essentially rejected her in a harsh way. She was a great friend, and it kind of ended there. Such a shame. Story 4. In 6th grade, I was joking around with this girl in my science class. It was a lab about electricity, and we had to connect wires to turn on a light bulb. As we were leaving for our typing class, I made some sort of joke, though I forgot what it was. She laughed, grabbed my arm, looked me in the eyes and said, "You're so funny. I really like you." I paused, said great, and ran off. I avoided talking to her for a few months because I thought she was making fun of me or trying to trick me so her friends could laugh at me. This was in a school of 120 people, so I saw her every day, but I avoided her. I feel bad because of it. Story 5. My girlfriend at the time mustered up the courage to say that she loved me for the first time ever. After an awkward pause, I said, "Thank you. I appreciate your honesty," but didn't say I love you back. I was emotionally dense back then, and she didn't talk to me for about a week after that. We are married now, and every so often when I say I love you to her, she thanks me for my honesty. Story 6. Went to break up with girlfriend. Had to go back because my keys fell in the sofa. She thought I was coming back for her and leapt to me as if it was a huge romantic, "Oh God, I can't live without her," and I only made it to the truck before I realized this moment. Had to pry her off me and move her aside before I could grab my keys. Story 7. When I was a teenager, a girl 2 years younger than me gave me a gold necklace. I had never spoken to her before, and I was extremely weirded out. Regrettably, I gave her a really confused face, and it destroyed her. She ran away crying. I still feel bad about it, and I never knew her name. I saw her a couple of times, and she would always duck her head in shame and run away. I never had the opportunity to apologize or give the necklace back. Story 8. In college, I received a phone call asking me to a sorority dash-a-date later that evening. I had no idea who she was, so I politely declined, saying I had an exam the next day. The next day, I ran into this adorable girl I had been flirting with for weeks, but never had the courage to ask out, because I always thought she was out of my league. She asked me how I did on my test. Only one person thought I actually had a test. Apparently, I didn't have much of a poker face because before I could answer, she asked me if I was okay. I was so panicked. I made up some excuse about forgetting to do something and left. We're married and have 3 kids. Story 9. Like 3 times back in high school, I rejected girls that I was into because I thought they were making fun of me. Looking back, none of them were the kinds of girls who would have done that, but I was kind of mean about it because I had anxiety and self-image problems and thought they were messing with me. So I feel pretty damn bad about that. Story 10. I was friends with a girl for about a year. We hung out with a group of friends outside of school, youth group, floating the river, sledding, hiking, all kinds of stuff. She was dating one of my close friends. They broke up, and a few months later, she passed me a note in class saying she liked me and would like to go to the dance with me. I knew my friend would be angry if I dated her, and I would lose him as a friend. About a week later, I got called into the principal's office along with a few of my friends. She had died of an aneurysm. I always, and still do, feel guilty for saying no and not spending that short time with her. In a way, I'm glad I didn't because it would have hurt so much more, and I feel even more guilty about that. Story 11. This was something posted by Emperor Cartagia, who used Reddit exclusively through Reddit is Fun. With the death of third-party apps, I decided to remove all my content from Reddit. 9 years of comments and posts, gone because of idiotic administration. Story 12. Went out with this girl who seemed infatuated with me, which made me slightly uncomfortable since I'm not good-looking enough to merit that. Anyways, after our second meetup, she offers to walk me back to my place. She has to stop somewhere to use a bathroom, but once she's done, I foolishly say, "I'm good to walk the rest of the way from here." We hug and part our separate ways. She had to walk maybe a mile back to her car, and I'm so oblivious that I didn't even think about it. I text her the next day asking if she got home safe and get a thumbs up emoji response and then nothing after that. Story 13. Not me rejecting, but getting rejected. Second married Valentine's Day with my ex-wife. I made a photo book with photos we had taken together that meant something to me. Beach in Thailand, mountain biking in British Columbia, ski trips in Utah. I wrote a few sentences to describe each photo and how they still made me feel. Right before I gave it to her, she confessed to having been sleeping with her secret drug dealer for the previous 4 months. Story 14. Growing up, sometimes I would go to my grandma's house several states away for holidays and such. There was a girl down the road who was friends with my cousin, and I saw her when I visited. One year, when I was around 10, my cousin told me she had a crush on me. The next year, my parents got divorced and I ended up moving near my grandma's house, directly across the street from this girl. Sometime after I moved in, I found a note on my porch. It was from her and said stuff about how she had a crush on me and wanted to be my girlfriend. I threw it away. I was in a really bad spot at the time. I couldn't see it as anything but a joke. Who could like me? I was also very suspicious because the cousin who told me about her was a compulsive liar, and the girl never confirmed it herself outside of this letter. There was a thought in the back of my mind that it was a joke by my cousin. But I feel so bad about it, even with the chance of it being fake. Imagine liking someone who then moves across the country and ends up across the street from you. You muster up the courage to write him a letter, and then nothing? I think back on it from time to time. Story 15. I was hanging out with a friend, and she told me that she had a crush on me. I was flattered, of course, because I did and do hold her in high regard. But to be honest, I simply wasn't attracted to her. And because of the significant gap in our ages, I had never considered her as a potential partner. So it kind of came out of left field. I think that I let her down easily, but I still felt sort of bad. Story 16. A friend once jokingly said he would buy me a laptop if I slept with him. I jokingly agreed and said, "Haha, yeah, sure. Because who really buys someone a 600-pound laptop so they can sleep with them?" The next time I saw him, he had bought the laptop. I stared at it awkwardly. He told me he didn't actually expect sex but wanted me to have it anyway. I didn't take the laptop or continue the friendship. Story 17. My boyfriend at the time sang me a song that he thought was romantic. It was a Green Day song. I told him I didn't understand it. I actually understood it, but I was moving away, and he was trying to give me a ring. I just kept pretending I didn't understand, focused on what I was doing, and he eventually gave up. Story 18. This was back in 2013. I had bad self-esteem as a teen, and when I was a junior, I also ran with a bad crowd. We were, I guess, the stoner kids in school. We sold weed, bummed money off everyone, fought other kids, and smoked weed all the time. But we were pretty well liked by everyone in our small school of about 400 students. There was a sophomore girl who was my complete opposite. She was this very smart, pretty girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. For some reason, she had a massive crush on me. Perhaps it was a bad boy thing. She would stare at me from across the lunchroom, and I would catch her, and she would quickly look away. One day, we rode the same bus home, and I ended up having to sit next to her. She scooted over to let me in the seat, but not all the way over, so there wasn't any room between us. We talked for most of the ride, and I really liked her. At the end of the ride, she gave me her number and told me to text her or add her on Facebook, and that we should hang out outside of school. I gave her the paper with her number on it back and told her I didn't want to hang out with her. She had a disappointed look on her face, said, "Oh, okay," and walked off the bus. I really liked her but was ashamed to tell people my family was too poor to afford a cell phone or internet. I tried to sit next to her the next day on the bus, and she put her bag in the seat and looked out the window. She refused to talk to me after that, and it still drives me nuts to this day because she was a very nice girl and I really liked her. We both work at the same call center now, and she gave me some dirty looks when I first got hired on. She's still pretty and single. I keep thinking about going for it, but she probably hates me. Update. So today at work, I talked to her during lunch. She was cool and casually mentioned how I turned her down in high school. I explained why, and she was cool about it and gave me her current number. I texted her and literally just before this post asked if she would want to go to a movie and a bite to eat tomorrow night. Her response was, "Of course." So I think I'm in, guys. Story 19. I had a guy hit on me last year. It was the first time it ever happened, and he was pretty sweet and flattering, but I'm just not gay. I didn't really know what to do, but I let him know that. I think he was disappointed. He never talked to me much after that. We had both been security guards for different companies in the same building. Story 20. I matched a girl on Tinder once and she fell hard. Fast. I didn't think we were too compatible and told her it wasn't going to work out. As an attempt to keep me on the hook, she bought me 2 concert tickets to one of my favorite bands and told me I didn't have to take her. She just wanted me to be happy. It was a trap. Story 21. She was a close friend of mine, and I had a crush on her back then. One day while we were texting, she asked, "Would you join us if I invite one of my girlfriends to my house?" I said, "Is that an offer?" With a smiley face. She texted back with a smiley face, and then I was like, I don't know. Maybe. After this, we didn't talk about that topic again. Actually, I still don't know why I said maybe. I'm an emotional guy, and intimacy wasn't on my mind, especially when I think about her at that time. Probably I missed a good chance back then. Just a reminder, her friend was very attractive though. Now we are still good friends. She has a boyfriend, and I have a girlfriend. I thought it was kind of a test, or I was shocked. I'm pretty sure she was serious though. Life is strange. Story 22. High school. My lesbian friend who had dropped out due to bullying got the courage to write me a love letter after subtly asking what she should do about having a crush on a close friend and not wanting to ruin the relationship. I told her to go for it, at least she'd know. I felt horrible rejecting her. There was also the time my husband got sexy for me and surprised me right after I'd been working late and was exhausted. I was blindsided, so I just said no, not tonight, without being gentle or letting him know how hot it was. It was pretty crushing because he really worked himself up for it, and I was just like, nah, bruh. Story 23. Not really romantic, just me being very, very stupid. And I've regretted it ever since. For around 6 months, my best mate and I would make out whenever we drank, and she would offer to come back to mine, etc., but I always chickened out and never acted on it. One day, she offered me a threesome with another girl, and I thought they were joking, so I proceeded to get blackout drunk. Couple of weeks pass, and I've stopped seeing her and never thought about it. I just thought it was something that we did in a club. However, I should have realized as she made a pact to marry me at a certain age at this point. A few years pass and we're still best friends, and she now has a boyfriend. She ends up having a brain tumor removed, and I go see her after she's out of the hospital, and she finally asks me about it as she'd never asked about that time of our lives before. That's when I realize I'm an idiot and missed a chance with a great girl. 2 years later, she's single again, and we decide to see what happens. Nothing happens as we talk about it like adults and realize that we're both different people than we were those years ago. Then someone told me that if someone makes a pact with you, date them as it means they like you. Stupid, stupid man. Story 24. Okay, well, I have a story. When I was 18 and leaving an indoor soccer game with 10 of my friends, we went to Sonic as we always do. This was right before prom. While we were sitting there, a girl walked up and asked my friend to prom. She worked at Sonic. The only problem was that she only knew him through his mom. Her mom and his mom are friends. And more importantly, she was dressed as a giant chocolate shake. He's a very socially awkward person, and having everyone look at him for the answer made him flip out. I have never seen someone clear a fence. Sonics have tiny fences surrounding the patio and run so fast. So in most cases, since we were 18-year-old teenagers, we would make fun of this, but it transcended awkwardness and we fell silent. We spent the rest of our meal watching a giant chocolate shake sob on the floor while Sonic Girls rubbed her costume back.